What if I told you the manipulation tactics we fear today, gaslighting, trauma bonding, cognitive dissonance, aren't new? What if they're ancient weapons, perfected over centuries in the shadows of history, blending dark psychology with occult rituals to control minds on a massive scale? This isn't just a modern problem. It's a dark legacy we've inherited. Let's start with the occult origins. Long before modern psychology had a name, dark psychological principles were the bedrock of ancient occult practices. Mystics, high priests, and cult leaders weren't just spiritual guides. Many were master manipulators. They used elaborate rituals, powerful symbolism, and psychological warfare to bend their followers to their will. Think about it. An incense-filled chamber, hypnotic chanting, symbols that tap into the subconscious. These weren't just for show. They were designed to shatter a person's sense of reality, making them vulnerable and open to suggestion. One of the most chilling modern examples of these ancient techniques is Jim Jones and the People's Temple. Jones didn't invent his methods. He perfected a dark formula. He started with love bombing, showering new members with praise, affection, and a sense of belonging they'd never experienced. This created an intense, almost immediate attachment. Once they were hooked, the next phase began: isolation. He moved his followers to remote communes, cutting them off from family, friends, and the outside world. Their entire reality became a cult. With his followers isolated, Jones introduced fear and cognitive dissonance. He would preach about impending apocalypse, creating a constant state of anxiety that only he could supposedly save them from. He would punish dissent with public humiliation and abuse, while simultaneously demanding absolute loyalty. This forced his devotees into a state of cognitive dissonance, a painful mental conflict where they had to reconcile their love and loyalty for him with the abuse they were suffering. They were trapped in a classic trauma bond, an attachment forged through a cycle of abuse and intermittent kindness. This bond became so powerful that it ultimately led over 900 people to their deaths in Jonestown, choosing loyalty to their abuser over their own lives. Occult symbolism played a huge role in these control dynamics. Symbols like pentagrams, sigils, or intricate mandalas weren't just esoteric decorations. They were psychological tools. Staring at these complex geometric shapes during rituals could induce trance-like states, bypassing the conscious mind and directly influencing the subconscious. The infamous occultist Aleister Crowley defined his practice of magic as the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. A key part of that magic was advanced persuasion and deception, using rituals and symbols to create a psychological environment where his will became reality for his followers. It was mind control, cloaked in mysticism. Now let's talk about a term we hear all the time: gaslighting. The word itself is surprisingly modern, originating from a 1938 play called Gaslight. In the story, a husband secretly and repeatedly dims the gas-powered lights in their home but insists to his wife that she is imagining it. He denies her reality so consistently that she begins to question her own sanity. It's a perfect illustration of the tactic. But the tactic itself is as old as human conflict. It's a favorite tool of individuals with dark triad personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Throughout history, countless leaders, tyrants, and abusers have used this same technique. They project their own flaws onto their victims, twist facts, and outright deny reality to maintain control. Imagine a king accusing a loyal advisor of the very treason he himself is planning. By constantly eroding the victim's confidence in their own perception, the manipulator creates a world where only their version of reality is valid. It's a form of psychological warfare that requires no physical weapons. This blend of occult-style manipulation and psychological abuse didn't stay in the shadows. It was studied, weaponized, and deployed by governments. In the 1950s, the CIA launched one of the most terrifying experiments in history, Project MKUltra. The official goal was to explore the possibilities of mind control for national security purposes, but its methods were a scientific repackaging of ancient dark psychology. Agents administered high doses of LSD to unwitting subject citizens, soldiers, even hospital patients. They used hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and extreme psychological stress, all in an attempt to break down the human mind and see if it could be reprogrammed. The architects of MKUltra wanted to see if they could induce cognitive dissonance, create artificial trauma bonds, and even implant false memories. Does that sound familiar? Gaslighting and cult-like manipulation but backed by the resources of a government agency. The project was a disaster, leaving countless victims with permanent psychosis and psychological scars. It proved that when you blend dark psychological theory with scientific methods, you can achieve a terrifying level of real-world control. So, how can you tell if you're facing this kind of historic-level manipulation in your own life? The signs are often subtle, but they follow the same ancient patterns. First, pay attention to cognitive dissonance. Do you find yourself holding two completely contradictory beliefs at the same time? For example, this person hurts me, but I can't live without them. That mental tug-of-war is a hallmark of a trauma bond. You're trying to reconcile the abuser with the person you thought they were, or the person you hope they'll be again. Second, look for isolation. Is someone systematically cutting you off from your support network? Manipulators know that it's much easier to control someone who is alone. They might criticize your friends, create drama with your family, or make you feel guilty for spending time with others. This is a classic cult tactic, designed to make the manipulator the center of your universe. Third, reality denial. This is pure gaslighting. Phrases like "that never happened," "you're being too sensitive," or "you're crazy," are massive red flags. The manipulator's goal is to make you doubt your own memory and perception, so you become dependent on their version of events. Finally, watch out for the cycle of charm to cruelty. This is also known as intermittent reinforcement. The manipulator showers you with affection and praise, making you feel incredible. Then, they suddenly become cold, critical, or cruel. You're left confused, desperately trying to get back the good version of them. This cycle is incredibly addictive, much like a slot machine. You keep pulling the lever, hoping for that rare reward, and get hooked on the process. So, what can you do? How do you break a spell that has been crafted over centuries? The good news is, awareness is the first and most powerful defense. First, document your reality. If you suspect you're being gaslit, start keeping a journal. Write down what happened, when it happened, and how it made you feel. This isn't for them, it's for you. Second, if it's safe to do so, consider going no contact. A trauma bond is an addiction, and the abuser is the drug. To break the addiction, you have to starve it. Block their number, remove them from social media, and create as much distance as possible. This is not about punishing them. It's about protecting your own sanity. Third, seek outside validation. Talk to trusted friends, family, or a therapist. Explain what you've been experiencing. Hearing an outsider say, "No, you're not crazy, what happened was not okay," can be incredibly powerful. It helps you rebuild the narrative that the manipulator tried to destroy. Fourth, empower yourself with knowledge. Study the dark triad, traits narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Learn their tactics. When you can spot the playbook, you're no longer an unwitting player in their game. You become an observer who can see the moves before they're made. Finally, ground yourself. Practices like mindfulness and meditation can be incredibly helpful. They teach you to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When you feel that chaotic swell of cognitive dissonance, you can take a step back and ask, why do I feel this way? What's the root of this conflict? It helps you untangle the knots the manipulator has tied in your mind. These ancient tactics of mind control aren't just myths from dusty old books or conspiracy theories. They are real psychological tools that have been used by some of history's darkest minds, and they are still being used today. But knowledge is light, and it has the power to expose what's hidden in the shadows. The more we understand these methods, the less power they have over us. What's the scariest example of manipulation you've seen or read about in history? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more, and stay aware.